Here in this sanctuary of hope, you can find a new seat at the table of life and feast yourself on love and fellowship, and you will not hunger for the touch of a human hand or an embrace of your searching spirit. If you seek to understand, here you will be encouraged in your search. Pathways will be lit for you. You will know that you can always come home again to this place, made sacred by our love for you. This is a sanctuary of the soul. There are no boundaries in this cathedral of hope. The collective wisdom of all humankind and our painful but glorious history are open to you here. Your heart and mind need never struggle with one another in a Unitarian Universalist congregation. We have no fear of science. We have no fear of knowledge. Welcome. Our call to worship today is It's Okay by Valerie Gansler. And Chat. Chat GPT. Okay, I'm not quite sure about that. Okay. It's okay to sigh at the headlines, to feel the weight of the noise in your bones. It's okay to admit the world feels heavy, that hope flickers smaller some days. You are not made of endless light. You are human, and even the sun rests behind the clouds. Rest. Let the world spin a while without you for a moment. Come, let us worship.
Good morning. May we light this chalice this morning to remind us of the power and beauty of balance and contrast. It is darkness that can make the flame of a single candle so powerful, and light that deepens those shadows in turn. A chalice flame is the meeting point, the union of the refuge, safety, and incredible beauty of darkness, and the warmth, the assurance, and the joy of light. May this act of lighting our chalice this morning, eventually, I'm just kidding, just remind us that we are stronger together in all the complexities and the disagreements of relationship because we are different and because we are one. Well, good morning, all. My name is John. It's a joy to be with you today, and this is our time for all ages. If we had a bunch of children, I would have them come up here, but we have a couple of young ones, and knowing the age of those young ones, the last thing they would want is to be sitting up here. So we're going to start with a simple question. It's not a trick question. What is this? It is. I'll do this for a second. It is. And then this is a, right. Okay, what else do I have here? Oh, yes. And lastly, I have this. Okay, yeah, we're gonna make a banana pudding here in a minute. Okay, so these are all bananas, right? And their banana-ness is the same. The essence of what they are, the nutrients are relatively the same. Now, when you go to a store and you say, or you go to the counter and you go, I really want a banana, what are you going to grab? Probably the one of the middle two. This one's just a little bit more green than the other, but rarely are you going, hey, I need this banana, right? And then this is the banana that most of us say, oh, and we just look at it for about 5 days, and then finally somebody slips it into the garbage. They shouldn't, but they do. Well, here's the thing. I've been thinking a lot about time, because time is the only thing that changes these bananas, right? They start off like this, young and green, look at you. And then around here, they feel like, oh yeah, we're in our prime banana-ness. And then you get here and it's like, I'm not who I used to be. And I think we all struggle with the person we used to be. And we think often about our limitations, what we can't do anymore, what's not easy for us anymore, what we've lost. But I think there's something beautiful about respecting wherever we are in this journey, because guess what? These bananas are all here, right? One day, the banana is going to be just organic material. It's going to be part of the earth. So while we are here, we get to be bananas. We get to go bananas. I just want you to think about where you are in your journey and not to judge yourself for what you're not, for what you've lost, and just embrace the beauty of who you are. Sound good? We come now to our time of meditation and rest. And the first thing I wanted to do was remind you that, what's the date today?
Sunday.
Okay, this says the 20th, and I thought, did I just move into the future? This is August 17th, 2025. None of us have ever been here before, so we really don't know what to do in this day. We're not really prepared for it, and we're never going to see it again. So let's make sure we enjoy every bit of this unprecedented day. Now, I'm going to read to you something from the journal of Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, in his book called Meditations, which he never intended to be a book. It's just his private journaling. And I remember using this quote in one of the messages that I gave here. And there was a phrase at the end where he's talking to himself. And he basically says, heap shame upon yourself. I want you to make sure you don't hear that the way that it sounds, because he's basically saying, he's trying to give himself a pep talk and saying, you got this. So for a moment, take a rest. Breathe slowly, deeply. Let your body begin to settle in, knowing that in this place you don't have to do or be or achieve or earn or impress. Just exist in whatever condition you enter this place. It's all right. Hear these words. Don't let your imagination be crushed by life as a whole. Don't try to picture everything bad that could possibly happen. Stick with the situation at hand and ask, why is this so unbearable? Why can't I endure it? You'll be embarrassed to answer. Then remind yourself that past and future have no power over you. Only the present, and even that can be minimized. Just mark off its limits. And if your mind tries to claim that it can't hold out against that, well, then heap shame upon it. We cannot be in the past. We cannot be in the future. We have to be in this moment. Allow yourself to be in this moment. Here you have everything you need. You are not overwhelmed. You are sufficient. You are not finished. Good morning again. So I'm going to ask a question. How are you? Well, I know how you are because I actually have the data. Joe, would you pull up the first slide for us, please, and just leave it there for a second. So there is this survey called the World Happiness Report, and the results are now in for this year. If you would put that up, Joe. Go ahead. The U.S. has reached its lowest ever ranking, falling to 24th place. Its highest ranking was 11th back in good old 2012. Remember who we were then? All right, next, Joe. So the World Happiness Report measures caring and sharing, happiness and kindness. It evaluates based on meal sharing, living with others, connecting with others, supporting others, trusting others, and giving to others. So it tries to find a holistic understanding of people's experience of being human. Now, some of the reasons, Joe, if you can put that up, that is listed for this really bad grade is that increased loneliness, so people feeling separated, deaths of despair by suicide, addiction, and also unnecessary deaths. Also declining social trust in institutions and systems, increased stress and anxiety, none of which we know about here, and shifting leisure time. So most people going from having hobbies where they interacted with other people to social media where they're siloed and really by themselves, even though they're interacting with people. In general, older Americans are happier than younger people, the survey found. I think that's under 30. People under 30 are more unhappy. Maybe that's because us older folks are like, we're getting out of here soon. So, all right. So now there's also this poll, this Gallup poll from 2025. Joe, if you want to put that up. And it found that more than 3/4 of US adults are very or somewhat dissatisfied with the country. So that's 77% are at least somewhat or very dissatisfied with the country. Only 1 in 5 are somewhat or very satisfied. Okay, now the next, that's about the country, but now personally, Joe, pull that up if you would. 44% of Americans say they are very satisfied with the way things are going in their personal life, but it is the lowest by 2 percentage points in Gallup's trend dating back to 2001. So even though, 44% of people are satisfied with their personal lives, it's the lowest it's been in a long, long time. Now, what's interesting is Democrats were rated as having a higher satisfied rating. The reason this was taken back in January of 2025. So now what they said they expect was that those numbers will flip and that more Democrats will be unhappy, more Republicans will feel happy. But here's what I'm gonna say. If they did that survey now, I think the levels are gonna be dropping because I think everyone is unhappy right now. All right, Joe, you can go to that next blank screen for a bit. I think we get, yeah, that was okay. Sorry about that. And you can go one more. And then we'll camp out here for a bit. Okay, so the numbers, 77% of people dissatisfied with the country, or our country falling to 24th from our highest of 11th in its happiness level. Those numbers aren't surprising to you, are they? In fact, you're probably saying, I think if people are honest, it's probably a lot lower. I mean, I think you probably start your day the way I often start my day. My eyes open, which is good, and then my mind quickly begins to assemble my day. I start making plans, I start organizing my checklist, and a terrible interruption breaks in, and I remember, oh yeah, the fascism. Oh yeah, the inhumanity. Oh yeah, the constitutional crises. And just like that, this knot returns in my stomach, and the clouds of existential dread roll on in. Since around, I think, January for some reason, these mental detonations have been constant. Sometimes the reminder of how close we are to losing our elemental freedoms erupts. It intrudes while I'm having dinner with friends, or I'm driving through the countryside playing music I love, or playing in the yard with my dog, or laughing in a movie I love, and it tempers the joy of living, right? It's this rude interruption of the seriousness of the circumstances. Other times, these interruptions happen at the end of the day when the accumulated worries and the cataloged legislative assaults and the inventoried human rights threats sit heavy on my chest, and they prevent sleep from coming because it feels like we're sliding inexorably toward the abyss. And I hope that I'm not alone. In fact, I imagine because you're here on a Sunday morning, gathered with like-hearted people who care about this world and the people on it, you know a bit of that. I know that every single day, some variation of these moments is being played out tens of millions of times inside the heads of people all over this country. People who, like me, have found their reservoirs of hope dangerously low. People who can't seem to shake the profound sense of dread that sort of hovers in the periphery like some sort of drone. So this, friends, is our collective Great Depression. And where does that come from? Well, it's not just the reality of the people in power and those who still applaud them. It's the ugliness that we've seen around us and within ourselves. It's the sickness that the country we love and call home has shown itself afflicted with. It's the weight of every horrible reality, all the bigotry and the discord and the hatred. It hampers our breath some days. But you know what? It's a lot closer than that too. It's the racist words we've heard from family members. It's the cruelty we've learned about our neighbors. It's the anti-immigrant social media posts from former church friends. It's the conversations we've had with coworkers that left us shaking our heads. Every square inch of life seems polluted by this cruelty. And I think that's why those answers are what they are. And that's why if we took that poll here, it'd probably be even lower. Collectively and individually, we're all going through emotional turbulence. Can you feel it? Because I can. I'm going to pull in a Bible quote. Don't often do that here, but this is from the book of Psalms. And the Psalms, if you don't know or don't remember, are just a series of poems or songs. And the writer of the Psalms is talking honestly about how he feels about life and about God. And the cool thing about the Psalms is sometimes the writer of the Psalms is like, God, you're so awesome, right? And sometimes the writer is like, God, I'm not sure if you're here or not. And sometimes the writer is like, there is no God. God has abandoned us. So I get that guy, that vacillation. I understand him. And here's what he writes one day. I am worn out from my groaning. All night long I flood my bed with weeping and drench my couch with tears. I understand him. You know, people talk about this dark night of the soul. You've heard that. It's a place where both light and hope sort of flee together, where a heaviness settles upon our chest, makes our breathing short and labored. In those loneliest of hours at night, often, our demons, both real and imagined, they get the upper hand sometimes. In those times, faith, if we have it, is elusive suddenly. I know this place pretty well. As someone who's battled mental illness for decades, I've spent many nights in that darkness, acting as the prosecuting attorney against myself, and totally listing off the countless failures and flaws that have brought me to this moment. I don't know if you have that kind of prosecuting attorney in your head. Tells you you're a fraud or a failure or that you're not doing enough or that you're not being enough. And when you're in those shadow places, friends, the case against you and against the future seems ironclad. You feel hopeless and overwhelmed and justified in feeling both. I think that darkness has a way of amplifying the things we fear. The quiet of those hours for some of us, rather than being comforting, often seems cold and threatening and final. The only thing more frightening and more draining than the dark night of the soul is when it stays through the morning. When you wake up and it's still all there, the dread, the sadness, the worry. It's as if night decided to move in for good. And I've been cognizant lately of the fact that the sun may be out, but inside the people I am around, it may be a really dark place. Depression does this. It gives the nightmares a wide berth into the daylight, and it tricks us into believing that they're staying forever. Now, as a former Christian pastor, I used to exhort people to pray and tell them that joy comes in the morning. Only sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it takes years of mornings and thousands of sleepless nights of anxious waiting. Sometimes the weeping lasts a lot longer than a night before it passes. And the challenge for us, when this darkness comes, regardless of when it comes, is to learn to endure it, to not respond impulsively to only what we can see at the time, because we can't see it all. We are here in August 17th, and we can't see beyond it. Now, there are two kinds of people in America right now and gathered here today. Some of us in this room and watching online are afflicted with some sort of mental illness, a diagnosed condition, clinical depression or anxiety or bipolar disorder or schizophrenia, OCD, PTSD, eating disorders, a myriad of illnesses that attack us inside our heads. And there are people who have the normal brain responses of sadness and anger and panic when trauma and adversity comes. So here's the good news. Whether you have a diagnosed mental illness or not, we're all getting worse right now. Our internal weather is deteriorating. The polls show that. Our social media profiles show that. Our conversations with friends show that. I saw a friend of mine at the grocery store yesterday. We hadn't seen each other for about 6 months. And I said, hey, how's it going? She says, oh. And I knew what meant, so I just said, I know. And she said, and I said, we just have to keep going. We have to keep doing what we're doing, right? There's no other option. And she said, I am depressed all the time. And I don't know how to not be depressed. Now, we didn't have time in the checkout line to talk about what to do, but what I know is that otherwise mentally healthy people are being made sick and mentally ill people are sinking deeper. And so we need to pay attention to that. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Have you ever said that in your head? Or to a friend? Like, is it me? Or has the whole world gone insane? I hear these things a couple hundred times a day in one form or another. I read them in social media outbursts. I find them in my inbox from friends and strangers. I hear them in my own head. Friends, mental health is a daily battle, even on our best days, and these are not our best days. During any given year in America, 1 in 6 adults has a diagnosed mental illness. 10 million of these people finding their lives fundamentally impacted by their internal, invisible maladies. And the toll of these diseases leads to mood disorders, propensity toward addiction, susceptibility to physical illness, and feelings of isolation and hopelessness. This is all under normal circumstances, and if you think these are normal circumstances, we're in trouble. These days, they tax our already burdened mental defenses. They siphon away our emotional reserves. So what does that mean? That means human beings already prone to depression and anxiety, normally driven to despair without any discernible cause or reason, now have objective data that makes hopelessness quite sensible. A friend of mine said, I could always be sad with no reason, but now I've got a reason, so it makes me feel a little bit more normal. What's worse than all of this, to some degree, is that our leadership's boundless attacks on reality, their gaslighting of otherwise sensible people, their reckless fake news conspiracy theories, aren't just making those who oppose those leaders prone to head sickness, it's doing the same to their supporters. Those in power are preying upon people by playing into their paranoia and their irritability and their fear, ratifying latent or active neuroses and justifying the ways that they now act out in emotional and physical violence. So we are all being damaged. That's why I don't think anyone's really happy right now. There's a famous horror movie from the 70s called When a Stranger Calls. Probably don't remember it, but if you do, babysitter, crazy stuff's going on, phone, no caller ID, she's going, hey, I'm gonna call the police, blah, blah, blah. And then finally the police call, hey, you know what? The call's coming from inside the house. Like, I can remember that. Like, I ran. Had to pay for all the phones that I had pulled out of the wall. This is what's going on. The enemy, the threat from outside is now close. The danger right now for us, friends, it's an inside job. It's not just who we're facing. It's not just the conditions of the country. It's a story we tell ourselves. So what do we do in our Great Depression? What are some strategies? Well, I'm going to pull some up. Give me that first one, Joe. Spend wisely. So friends, we all have valuable but finite resources. We have time, we have money, and we have energy. Time, money, and energy. You have resources, but they're finite. And more than ever, we need to be careful where we invest those resources that we don't waste them. Where are we squandering our time? Social media maybe, or online shopping, or TV, or dopamine chasing. Where are we wasting money? How can we do economic activism? How can we support organizations and companies who, as best as they can, reflect our values? Where are we wasting our energy? On worry without action, on arguing with people who disagree with us, on doom scrolling on social media. So where am I squandering my time? Where am I wasting money? Where am I wasting my energy? So spend the resources that you have in a way that reflects your personality, that reflects your character, so that you know, I'm using what I have really well right now. I can't be concerned about anybody else. The second thing, preserve your wealth. The greatest asset you have in making the world more compassionate is your personhood, right? It is your humanity. You need to care for yourself. You need to get sleep. You need to get rest. You need to hydrate. You need to exercise. You need to find community. You need to pursue things that give you joy. Don't allow yourself to be used up and depleted, because you expiring is not the goal here. The goal is for you to bring the fullness of your humanity to these inhumane times. So preserve your wealth, which is you. The third thing, invest long term. Okay, friends, it's hard not to focus on how bad things are, but that can paralyze us. It can freeze us. It can prevent us from moving. It can make us ineffective. Part of living well in these days is to keep looking ahead. I was talking to a group of activists on my network, and we were talking about what might happen in midterm elections and what we are trying to avoid and what a disaster situation is. And I said, well, listen, all I know is that a lot of people are beginning to feel pain, even people of privilege. And the more people who feel pain, the more they're going to jump in. And we're going to have a critical mass of people who are going to push back against the hate that we're seeing. And she said, but I think it's going to be too late by that time. And I said, the phrase too late implies a drop dead date on civilization. We're never going to be at a place where the story is over. So I said, it might be too late for something, but it's never going to be too late. We're always going to wake up in a day, if we get to wake up in it, and there's going to be something there. There's going to be possibility there. The story is going to continue. It may get worse before it gets better, but it's going to continue. See, the greatest lie depression tells us is that the way things are is the way they will always be. It doesn't want us to know that time does bring new things that we can never anticipate or imagine. Hope and healing and possibility do return eventually, and they do so in the most surprising and triumphant of ways. In fact, just as the darkness sneaks up on us without warning, So does the light. You've often find yourself saying, wait a minute, am I happy right now? What the heck just happened? That's not normal. Some days you just wake up and things look different, or you see things differently. So how do we transform this overarching sense of sadness into something redemptive? I think with all trauma, with all grief, there has to be movement. When there's profound loss of any kind, the only path is forward. We need to craft something beautiful and meaningful and life-affirming in response to what has been taken away or threatened. So for those of us who feel cheated out of a kinder, more diverse, more decent America, those of us who still want to rescue the nation that could be from the one that currently is, individually and collectively, we will have to be the daily, bold, defiant pushback against all that feels so wrong. Where does that pushback come? It comes in the small things, in the art we create, in the good that we do, in the conversations we have, in the quiet gestures of compassion that are barely visible, like picking up a dog on the side of the road. The pushback will come in the ways we fully celebrate daily life. Birthdays, having dinner with friends, driving through the countryside, singing songs, playing in the yard with our dog, laughing at a movie we love. Pushback comes as we loudly and unapologetically speak truth where truth is not welcome. It comes as we connect with one another on social media and in faith communities in our neighborhoods, and as we work together to demand accountability from our officials. It will come as we use the shared resources of our experience and our talents and our numbers to ensure that our children and other people's children inherit a world worth being here for. So the way we defeat depression is to keep living, to keep moving despite the pain, regardless of how difficult it is. I know this to be true. Some days, despite my rational reasons, I lose hope, but during those times and in those seasons, I've learned to breathe and simply tell myself, keep going. It's not over. Keep going. It's not over. It's not magic. It's not a cure. It doesn't erase the sadness, but it allows me to persevere until the night eventually passes and the lightness returns again. Now, some of you hearing this or watching online, you don't identify with any of this because sadness doesn't hit you in that way, maybe. I celebrate you, and I envy you with a jealousy that burns with the power of 1,000 suns, but that's... But for those who get it, those who understand how the dark night of the soul can come and linger into the daylight, I want to encourage you not to stop. Don't be fooled by what appears to be hopelessness. That's a mirage. Don't let the darkness lie to you. It cannot stay forever. There's a quote I want to read to you. This is from the Once and Future King. You could pull that up, Joe. This is long, but stick with me. This is Merlin talking to the king. The best thing for being sad, replied Merlin, beginning to puff and blow, is to learn something. That's the only thing that never fails. You may grow old and trembling in your anatomies. You may lie awake at night listening to the disorder of your veins. You may miss your only love. You may see the world about you devastated by evil lunatics, or know your honor trampled in the sewers of baser minds. Next. There's only one thing for it then, to learn. Learn why the world wags and what wags it. This is the only thing which the mind can never exhaust, never alienate, never be tortured by, never fear or distrust, and never dream of regretting. Learning is the only thing for you. Look what a lot of things there are to learn. So let's stay in this day and learn what we can. Most importantly right now, our response to whatever we feel is wrong must be tangible, and it must be a collective movement of good people, because community is medicinal. So we transform our shared sadness into a unified statement about what we stand for and what we will not abide. Living fully and loving well is our greatest resistance now. That's how we stay sane in insane times. We survive the inhumanity around us by affirming our humanity. There's a lot to grieve over and worry about right now. There's going to be more ahead. But that just means there's a lot worth fighting for still. So we grieve and we move. Be fueled by your sadness, strengthened by your anger, and into the fight for what matters to you. Yes, joy does indeed come, perhaps not in the morning or for a while, but it comes just the same. Till then, breathe. Keep going. It's not over. Thank you.
We extinguish this chalice flame, daring to carry forward the vision of this free faith, that freedom, reason, and justice will one day prevail in this nation and across the earth. Please join us in reciting the UUPF blessing. Bless us with hope, bless us with care, bless us with love, bless all we share. Blessed be, Amen, Shalom, Salam, Namaste.